So
right.
ladies and gentlemen, it's me, the Einstein of Wall Street, here from the balcony. It's a little bit wild and crazy. We've got Brazilians coming out of the woodwork here. But so anyway, I'm super excited today. You know, I bring you stories about, you know, I bring tech, I bring food, I bring finance, I bring fashion, I bring you everything. For the most part, what I love to do is I bring you stories of people who have started companies, who are breaking barriers, who are breaking the ceiling on things that are impacting our lives really in a good way, right? I mean, I tend to, you know, for me, it's a humanist story. That's for me the most important thing. At the end of the day, everything you're going to see me do has a human story to it, and that's for me the most important thing. I grew up with it. My father was a doctor. He was a humanist, and he said, you know, at the end of the day, it isn't about all the, you know, the bells and prizes. It's people's business. I like that. It's people's business, and it's people's stories. It's all about a story, right? At the end of the day, Israelis tell good stories. At the end of the day, so ladies and gentlemen, I am here with Avshalom Ofer Vicus, the founder and CEO of Aduro Technologies, correct?
Aduro Clean Technologies.
Aduro Clean Technologies.
Yes.
It is my honor to have you here, sir.
It's a pleasure to be here.
It's been a wild and crazy ride.
After having your service here, it's even bigger honor.
You know what? It's so exciting. Look, he's getting a little taste of what I do in a day, and that usually knocks people right off their wagon. But you know what? Look, I've got enough energy to do what I do, and I love telling stories.
No need for coffee.
Honored.
I can see
that. I don't drink coffee. I don't drink, I don't smoke, I don't drink coffee. This is all natural energy.
Natural.
All that natural energy. So I'm super excited. Look, you know what? I've talked to you about a number of different spaces. You know, we've talked about ESG, right? You know, so it's curious. So obviously this market's been around for over 100 years. And for the most part, you know what? Environmental issues have never been a big part of this business, right? I would say probably 80s, 90s, maybe 2000s. ESG, right? Sustainability became something that people started focusing on or even caring about. I recently interviewed a woman named Vian Sharif. She is an Iraqi English woman who runs a new sector called Nature. Right, so it's ESG on steroids, and basically what they do is she's just partnered with the New York Stock Exchange to create data for large brokerage firms to basically look into companies, listed companies, to see how they are actually treating their employees, how they are impacting the environment, and how their footprint is. It's pretty. I will actually introduce you because from a clean tech point of view, she's fascinating.
Yeah,
and basically, she's creating a massive database, and basically as a consultant for all listed companies and brokerage firms, because basically sustainability and nature and clean tech is obviously something that's been trying to get mainstream, and it's had a lot of trouble. Yeah. You know, can you address that a little bit? Because it's curious. Look, for me, there are people who are climate deniers. The United States is a funny place, right? And we don't have to get political about it.
We'll stay away from that.
Yeah, we're not going to touch that. No, we're not going to touch that. But curiously enough, think about it. I mean, we are a function of our environment, and you know, and people don't really realize and think of the long-term game about our air, our water, and all of that, and plastic, which is one of the things that you guys are dealing with. Right. But I mean, it's baffling that it was not. For me, I would have thought that the minute it hit, it would have been embraced, and it has not. Tell me about the company, and tell me how long it's been around, and tell me, you're the founder, so what was the vision?
Yeah, so well, Aduro, first of all, thank you very much, and
my
pleasure to be here.
Okay.
As for what you said about society, I feel just one word about it. I think society is having enough of that type of, unbalanced situation.
Right.
Society is actually wants to see a little bit more control on things. In our space, it's waste plastic.
Right.
The company specifically, our company, Aduro, is part of that movement that is dealing with waste plastic. Aduro is also doing other stuff. We are upgrading heavy oil. We are dealing with renewable oil that could be transferred to renewable fuels. We have even applications in the rubber tires, so waste rubber, things of such. The whole idea of this,
in a recycling
kind of a concept, and that fits very well with what society kind of thinking about it today, right? They want to see more.
That's as far as they. So that's about as far as they go, because there's a whole nother level to sustainability and recycling and all that.
Yes, and you could argue then you go on into a philosophical way. What do you want to, whether you need plastic or you don't need plastic. We're not there at all. Plastic is there. We can't do without it. Right now, if you 90% of the things here, all
we have
are
made with plastic. Absolutely.
So we are dealing with the current situation. Whatever happens in 20 or 30 years, God knows, not for us. We conceived in 2011. We basically identified this special phenomenon that was out there and nobody paid attention for it. We didn't believe that we actually identified. It's actually with the responsibility of I'm a co-founder and the CEO, and my partner in crime, his name is Mark Trickstead. He's a very smart guy, chemist, and really unusual person that we knew through work. And when I show him that phenomenon,
what did you identify? What was the phenomenon?
So the phenomenon suggested that basically under our condition, which is basically a little bit of heat, a little bit of water, and some very low value catalyst, we're able to break molecules in a way that was not breaking before. It's very selective chemistry that we'll be able to do. And if you also add to this
a molecule that it's within plastic,
long heavy molecules. So long heavy molecules exist everywhere. They're in heavy oil, they're in renewable oil, they're in rubber tires, they're in waste plastic.
Understood.
And generally speaking, normally most of the time you would just hit it. You try to crack it down, and some goes to gas, and some goes to other issues, and becomes. But if you do selective chemistry, the one that we identify, and I'll explain how we identify it. Then the next thing you do is add something. Most of the organization in our space would need hydrogen to kind of help stabilize. It's not a catalyst. It stabilizes the molecules. And we discovered that we can replace that with ethanol, methanol. So suddenly we saw a very simple process where the catalyst is very low value, and where we are actually working to shorten those molecules, just enough to create liquid, high quality liquid yield. And then rather not needing to do anything with hydrogen, just putting some glycerol or ethanol or replacement material out there, which was consumed under our condition, and the material is stable. And just to give you another element on this, on the advantage side of things.
You know what? I have to interrupt you a second. I have to interrupt you a second so everybody really understands. Okay, so what we're talking about is, obviously there are molecules inside of plastic. Obviously the world is way overdone with plastic. It's frigging everywhere, and it does not break down. Okay, so you obviously came up with the idea.
Were
you able to break
it down?
To break down plastics, to break down oils
in a different way than others are doing today, which becomes
which
very
is
cheap
which is more environmentally friendly than some of the others.
It's more environmentally friendly. So we are using a low value catalyst that is already available. No need to go after it. It's not very expensive.
I understand.
We're using lower temperature. We're using this glycerol instead of hydrogen. Molecular hydrogen is very expensive, and it's really a big no-no to the environment. Nobody wants it, but we're all junkie of molecular hydrogens. And so if you can do something without it to create that pure oil, you're doing something good. And on the top of that, if you take that oil and put it into a machine that actually produces new plastic, then you create the circularity.
Okay, so you're breaking down plastic with an environmentally friendly way.
You're
creating
a product.
I know it's more that's creating another product that not only just has another use, but it can create once again a new plastic.
So you can take that oil and put it in a machine called naphtha cracker, and naphtha cracker is producing new plastic. And we're not talking about all plastic in the world. We're specifically talking about plastic that is really, really hard to recycle. That is mainly polyethylene, polypropylene, polystyrene.
And where do we find that in our lives?
It's everywhere, all around you. It's in your clothes, it's in your shoes.
Okay, so it's not
plastic bottles is actually PET. So it's not, and it's actually
quite
an easier.
It's in textiles. It's in
textiles. It's in coffee shops. It's in mugs. It's in pens. In everywhere around you. So normally, what happens is that when you're doing just recycling, just regular recycling,
chemical,
before chemical, the go-to-market will be mechanical recycling. So you will take a lot of material and you try to separate it to its, separation. I guess,
pens here, all that.
Yes.
Okay, fine.
And then you would shred it, and you would clean it, and you would do something new with it. That's mechanical recycling. Whatever because they're taking the best of the best, whatever they reject goes to chemical recycling. This is where our space. Currently,
so you're taking the second derivative of this first thing.
Because they reject a lot. And to give you an idea, and I'll tell you, they only have to this day, they managed to do about 9% of the market, give and take.
We're talking 2025.
Yeah.
This has been going on, some level of recycling has been going on for 30, 40 years.
Of tons,
and we're still only 9% of what's going on.
That is just for the mechanical recycling.
Right.
And so it's very, very hard. And there are really good companies that are making a lot of efforts in doing that. Once they reject it, and there is a lot of good plastic in it, you bring it to them chemical recycling.
Which is what you do.
Yeah, and we're part of another group that is doing chemical recycling, only that the other group is doing something a little bit more traditional. Normally, it's called pyrolysis. It's basically a heat-motivated system that actually heat everything all around.
Right.
And there's punishment if you do that, because now you have to deal with things. There's all kind of penalties to do when you do.
What is there? Just gases and whatever.
Well, there is gases. There is some higher coke. There is issues that related to hydrogenation. It's polymerized immediately. Things of such. So it becomes really very costly, because remember, we're dealing with waste, right? Something that you have to pick up, sort it out, things of such. So the phenomenon that we found, we found a way to do it in a cheaper way. We have just to give you an idea from heavy oil, this is where we got our understood. In heavy oil, you have metals, and we realized that
now
heavy oil is
a petroleum that comes from underground that is used for our daily life,
including
everything.
Plastic.
And some oils are heavy oil. Now explain this to me, because I used to be in the oil business.
Yeah.
Heavy oil is, so the definition of heavy oil, just by nature, is one that's harder to exploit.
It's harder to extract.
Right. It's harder to extract.
Flow.
Right.
It's not very friendly.
Guys, you all need to know. The oil comes in all different forms. There's oil reservoirs. There are oil gusher. I mean, oil is a
we all use
an
it.
offset. Right.
So far, we use quite a lot of it.
But it exists. I mean, it comes from pressure underground, but it's all and under the ocean, right? But there's all different kinds of oil and viscosity of oil, right? Some is easier to look. That's why there's a different cost too. Some oils are way more expensive to get out of the ground, but heavy oil, as it's heavier viscous.
Those are the type of the heavy oil that are a little bit more expensive to get off the ground, and they are even more expensive to throw them in the pipeline.
Okay.
And so inside of those heavy oil, there is
so they're
metals.
less likely to use them for
you use them anyway for the same purposes, but you just need to spend more energy and resources around it. And so the metals inside, in our chemistry, act as a catalyst.
Okay.
So
you need them. Heavy oil is a good part of your...
we needed the metals. What we discovered is that if we're using the metals as a catalyst, we're breaking apart those molecules.
Do you have to extract those metals from the heavy oil first?
No, we're actually increasing.
Really?
We're actually increasing. That was a big secret in our space for 10 years, because we found out that most of the organization tried to extract the metals out of the oil. We actually increased the percentage of that metals in the
by
oil,
using the heavy oil
and putting it in under condition with a little bit with water and a little bit with glycerol, and things fall apart to a liquid phase. And we took that and we learned from this how to do the same for renewable oil. And we took lessons learned from the renewable oil. We learned how to do chemical recycling of waste plastic, and they're all long and heavy molecules. And so it's a very cheap way to do something that normally is very expensive to do. You need to spend a lot of resources. The alternative technologies are sensitive to a little bit more sensitive to contamination. They have to use more or less of the same material, things of such. And so we just broke apart and found a way. And when you are taking all this together and combining all this together, we have really a small machine that could scale up, and it's very cost effective to do the same work without the need of hydrogenation. And so that's the secret behind it. We developed
That's your secret sauce. That's
that's the secret sauce.
sauce.
That's how we moved away from in 2011 until April 2021.
But that was the first. So when you found that was what forced you to catalyze the creating of the company.
And we had to go through heavy oil. We have to go through renewable oil and waste plastic to understand how big this is to understand the ins and outs of whatever the technology represents. The net result is that we build what we call a technology platform. We can direct it to heavy oil. We can direct it to recycling of plastic. We can direct it to renewable fuel. We can do all kind of things that we can do with it.
So it's one technology that has so many multiple uses.
So many multiple applications. But we are focusing, Peter, today on chemical recycling and a little bit of bitumen. Everything else
Explain
is
to me what bitumen is.
Oil, heavy oil.
It's called. Is that what? Oh, I didn't know that. Okay, I'm sorry.
Bitumen is just a different version of heavy oil. Heavy oil is a little bit, less heavy.
Explain to me though. Is heavy oil more likely to be in the ocean, underground? I mean,
heavy oil is, Canada has a lot of it.
Canada has a lot of it. Okay,
it's underground.
That's on land. It's
Yeah.
under, and it's okay. It's not ocean
and
oil.
you could ocean oil is normally mixed with a lot of water, salt water and things of such. But heavy oil normally is, in Canada resources, you could find them in trails underground.
Right.
Some of them would need a lot of heat. You inject steam.
Right.
Some of it will flow, and
Right.
you slowly put it out, very very slowly.
yeah.
And some of it you could scoop with a tractor.
Wow.
We
It's
just
like
open,
that, right?
open
Right. I've
pit,
seen
you just
that.
go
Yep,
with it.
yep.
Yeah, you've seen. And so those are the faces, but society is really using a lot of oil, generally speaking.
Right.
And so the demand for heavy oil within time just increased. Although we're trying to making a lot of efforts to reduce that demand, and generally speaking, there is a lot of alternative today that are coming to oil in general.
Right.
Still, the demand for oil is really large, and still the demand for heavy oil is very, very strong. And there's a future. Maybe there'll be a future out there that without it, but not in our time.
So the demand for when you've got oil, obviously to make gasoline, you use oil for making
Making plastics.
right?
Yeah.
Polyurethane, all that
Yeah,
kind of
all that
stuff.
material.
I'll tell you two quick funny stories. So when I was when I graduated college, I came back to New York, and I did a number of things. I was getting a master's trade in commodities. I was
I
a
can see you
doorman
can
in
do a
Studio
lot of
54.
things
I was
at the same
rocking and
time.
rolling.
Yeah.
And things, it was the 80s, it was New York, it got a little bit crazy. And so I had a friend who ran a company called Saga Petroleum. It's a Norwegian oil company.
Okay.
And they were exploring oil off the coast of West Africa. And we know that West Africa is one of the largest.
Some resources are there.
So,
Yeah.
exactly. Off the coast, off the west coast of Africa, Nigeria, Togo, Benin, all those places, there's tons of oil there.
Yeah.
Union Oil explored oil there in the 50s, then there was a lot of unrest in those countries. Anyway, I went there and I ran the accounting for this for a Norwegian oil company.
man.
So I was in the oil business for a while, and it was
Right.
amazingly fascinating to see because
Very intimate market.
it's just
So it's so
extraordinary.
large, but not a lot of people dealing with it. That's what I found.
Yeah,
That's my
but it's also, but it's so fast. I mean, looking at any natural resource,
Yeah.
for me, I find fascinating on how
Yes.
it's extracted and what it takes. I mean,
Yeah.
from gold, diamonds, oil. I mean,
Yes.
all of those things.
Yeah.
It's kind of fascinating. But within oil, there's so many different kinds of it,
Yeah.
and we saw there it just flowed, right?
Yes.
You
It's
tapped
very-
you
it's high
tapped the
quality
reservoir,
oil.
it went up, and it was not a
Yeah.
problem. The only thing
Yeah.
you had to do, oil servicing, was a big deal because
Yeah.
it flowed so much. You had to keep the pipes, the electric, and all that. That was super exciting. I lost my train. What was the other part of my?
That is a good high quality oil. In Canada and
Right.
in some parts of the world, there is a little bit less quality oil. That's the heavy oil. That's
Right.
the part, and it requires a lot of resources. And Aduro has this ability
To extract or
no,
to-
just to upgrade it.
To upgrade.
And so normally
To
just
make
to put
it useful.
to make it a little bit more flower,
Right.
to improve its quality basically.
Right.
And if you do that, we save some of the blending. So normally in order just to flow this thing,
Right.
you would mix it with some blending material
Right.
and other light hydrocarbons.
Right.
So if you have a way to save some of that blending, which
Right.
is kind of an operational cost to the companies,
Right.
that's a big thing for the company because you're taking away some of the cost. And you're taking
Right.
away some of the cost.
Your net bottom line
net
is
bottom
better.
line becomes a little
Who
bit
are
better.
your customers?
So, and normally those would be Fortune 500, companies that are dealing
They're
either with.
producing plastics and heavy
So,
oil,
in the
or-
chemical recycling space, we've been investigated by organizations such as Total and such as Shell.
Well, that's an oil. It's a European oil
Yeah,
company, right?
Yes, and in the heavy
So the
oil, we've been
companies in the
investigated
petroleum
by
space.
Yeah,
Okay.
by extracting companies that needed to find a way to maybe move that things in a better way.
So they
less cost-
hire
more cost
you
effective.
to
So they
help
don't
their bottom
hire.
line?
So they don't hire us at all. We
Okay.
develop the technology, and then we
Right.
came up and offer and tell them.
And then you plug it into their
Yeah,
business.
so we're a pretty young company,
Okay.
even though we're already since 2011 have
Right.
been doing, but. We still are in our early days in that
Correct,
sense. And
okay.
we're now building our pilot, and our pilot is strictly on chemical recycling right now.
Okay.
And I'm hoping there'll be some news because we're working very hard on the bitumen through the 2026, but yet to be seen right
Right.
now. And the companies around us that are really interested in this, their main interest is to see how can they take a lot of, I'll say, dirty waste plastic
Right.
and turn it into something useful, such as an oil, to make new plastic. And if you
Right.
can do that, then basically you reduce the need to extract more oil
Right.
from the
Okay.
land. And
Right, right.
conceptually,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
just not on a high level. And this is what
The
society
whole
is asking.
exposure and the footprint. I mean,
Yes,
the less,
and so there's a lot of challenges in the chemical recycling space that we as a company are, you know, able to solve. That's how we feel. And for that reason, that benefits that embedded in the technology gives us a way to imagine different business models.
Okay.
So most of the organization requires centralized large locations, and
Right.
they require a lot of sorting mechanism and a lot of cleaning. Remember, this is waste that you have to
you know,
collect.
I mean, if you think
things
about
of
it,
such.
look how resistant everybody is. Think about it just from a human point of view, how resistant we are to separate our garbage from plastic bottles. That people
agree.
are so up against that. And to
Yeah.
think about it from a global point of view, I mean, if you saw, like,
Well,
I mean,
coming at us.
I've gone
At the end
down,
of the day, it
I've
is
gone
coming
down
back
that
to
rabbit
us.
hole a number of times about
Yes.
like countries that deal with waste,
Yes.
right, and are being able to turn waste into something special, and then plastic, how plastic is destroying the oceans.
So if
I
you
mean,
turn
all
waste,
that kind of
Peter,
stuff.
if you think of waste, of that plastic waste
Right.
now as a resource, that's a different consideration, because in that plastic,
That's how
already
we have to start
invested-
thinking.
You think of it, you invested so much resources to extract the thing,
Right.
you know, send it to a refinery,
Right.
do something with
With
it.
it,
You
right.
bought it, somebody designed, I don't know, equipment with it. Now
Right.
you bought it,
Now
now you
you're
have no
using
use
it.
it.
Right.
So if you can take that away, with all that benefit, and just use it again, one
Right.
way or the other, use it again,
Right.
you're
How
creating
efficient is
something.
that? You're creating
Exactly.
efficiency.
And so you can't do 100%. It's hard to even to do, as you know, now 10%.
Right, right, I
But
understand.
we definitely have this avenue to increase that 10%. This is
Right.
where we are coming from.
Now, are there competitors in the field?
Plenty of competitors.
Similar
Yeah.
technology? Or are you?
No, very, very different technologies, and all of them all together control only 1% of the market.
Wow,
So,
okay.
you know, a lot of this material is just end up in the landfill.
Right.
And we have this ability to kind of move around near those competitors. We don't consider them as really as a strong competitors. There's
Okay.
plenty for everyone.
Right.
Society produces
There's
about
plenty of
400
waste and plastic for everybody.
no shortage of waste.
Right.
We're producing about 400 million tons every year.
Okay.
And the number is growing. I think those numbers is 2024 actually. And so a lot, just 10% of it is now being treated.
Okay.
The rest is just going to the
Now,
garbage.
so the business model, where are the revenues coming from?
So we build two business models currently. We're, I'll say 90% licensing. So we want to go to the Shell of the world, Total of the world.
License them your technology.
And license those
Right.
technologies.
Yeah,
And they're looking for good technologies, and they know everything about the market. So for the investors, if they know nothing about what we've been doing,
Right.
they should look at our partners that look at what we've been doing. And in that sense, I'll tell them, go look at our press releases.
Right.
But we also know that those things will, licensing, although may take some time. And so
Right.
we see applications, small applications that we can earn and generate revenue quite quickly.
Okay.
And recently, and I've been
For
yesterday,
example?
for example, synthetic turf. You know, the one that you see on the baseball.
Right, on the baseball
stadiums.
field, right?
Yeah, this is a direct application. We had a publication about it, and if you
That
think
you
of
can
it,
actually-
it could be turned into back to new
into a-
material.
Wow.
Doesn't matter which material. And so those you don't need to do, you know, thousands
Huge.
of thousands of
Right,
thousands
right,
of
right.
tons.
There can be small
There
applications.
can be small
that
applications.
Are
And
monetizable.
for us,
Right.
it's build and operate kind of an activity that in our way will secure the company's future, because we don't want to wait for licensing
Understand.
another year and another year. We want to be very active and make sure that we are growing. So for investors, the message for investors every now and then is that look at what we've been doing. We need to change. We're growing in a reasonable way. And so the way we are changing is that we are adding value to our work. And so if we have a work towards licensing and the
Right.
whole company is shifted on licensing, we open a channel on around build and operate to make sure that we will see some early stage revenue before we'll just license the technology. And I think
Is the
for
licensing
Aduro-
is the licensing as a revenue far down the road? I mean, is that
it's
still,
not that far down the road.
Okay.
I mean, 2025 is a very, very, very big year for us.
Okay.
We just built a pilot
Okay.
for our usage.
Okay.
We're very, very aggressive, and we told our investors that we are going to finish some work in 2025 to build the larger demonstration unit. So
Okay.
we're now commissioning a pilot. As we speak, we're building it and we're commissioning it.
Right.
But as we speak, we are very, very active and aggressive in building the bigger machine that is very close to the commercial machine.
Understand.
And so we aim for this semi-commercial machine to be ready at the end of 2026, early
Okay.
2027. From that point, as you run it, organizations that will see what we're doing and could actually see, an industrial scale.
Correct.
We feel the licensing model
huge.
that is because they need to put some money around it, and they know the market very well. And we actually, Peter, caught the market by surprise in April 2021 when we told everyone that we're there, because there was no social footprint for what we've been doing in the last, from as early as 2011 until that time. And so they need to check it. And so already since the day we actually become public in the CSC in April 2021, we start promoting and introducing customers, and we start working with customers. And we have partnership today with Total.
Right.
And we have several Fortune 500 that are just testing it. Part of it is Shell. And we already put an eye on one or two areas where we can develop our own machines and generate our own money while this channel. So very independent company, working, like a big, thinking big, small team, but thinking globally. And really very, very aggressive and active on revenue, on the side of execution. And that's what you see on the chart, actually.
Yeah, correct. Look, if you look at the chart is spectacular, right? You want a chart that's got growth.
I have to give the credit for our CFO here, because we're sparring every now and then of how to make it.
I'm a chart reader, and what you don't want is something that just goes straight up. You want things that go up and pull back and go up. That's how you build fun. If you look at technical analysis in a chart, and that's what we do as traders, right? That's what you want. You want things that are moving up, they pull back to their EMA, exponential.
So I'll tell you something about the strategy of that. So we every year, because it's a bit overwhelming. Company has about north of $200 billion in addressable market. Like how big you want this to do. And so and revenue will not come immediately, because those organizations, you need to build a pilot, you need to build a machine.
Right.
And so what we did every year to the message for investors, we told investors we'll come up with 3 or 4 milestones that will do one of the following: either de-risk the company, will add value to the company, or create opportunity for the company. So if we do another patent, or if we do another design, or if we do another deal, for example. And so every year to the letter we achieve that. And so now you have a message.
Your milestones in a de-risking
environment. You have a message to the investors.
For an investor, that's all they want.
Take a look. Yeah, and now you should come in January and look at what we said we will do in 2025. And you ask me, did you do that? And I should be able to say yes.
Yes.
And so we've been either doing it or trying to do it, basically. And I think we created that type of maybe trust for the investors. And that came up with the execution level. And so that's what you see is a steady growth.
And you see that reflected, steady growth, you see it reflected in the chart.
I want to say something about, it comes immediately with, can this be, let's say, heard by competitors? And we feel our moat, the technology advantage is so huge. We've been doing it as early as 2011, and we haven't seen something different, something that could overcome and overwhelm it. So we're very trusting the strength. We have a lot of trust in the strengths of the technology.
The internals of the company.
So we think we could take our time and build it in an appropriate way. And that's what the message we're putting to investors.
So look, what's important for investors to also note is that while you've got a huge vision for the big picture, for those pilots that you're talking about with the large
We're running
companies,
after cash for yesterday.
You are still running
revenue.
after cash. Look, what does an investor want? They don't want to hear about the pie in the sky. They want to know they want to know that there is a pie in the sky. But you're making it clear that along the way you are not just resting on your laurels.
100%.
That you are looking for opportunity.
Yes.
You're taking your technology, which is going to be pivotal in that mode. But along the way, you're finding small other business models and monetizable business models that will
say no to that.
Right, and will build your bank. So that when that time comes, it's a whole nother thing. I mean, that's the whole thing. You're building a foundation, and you're building multiple. Look, how do people get wealthy? Multiple streams of revenue.
Well, we're not wealthy yet, but I'll hear you.
Right, but multiple streams of revenue is a key, and that's a super important. What's exciting from just your description of it is that the way the company a company needs to be nimble. When you're dealing with some of the bigger guys, it seems to me that you're able to pivot right? Which is important. So you're looking around you, you're seeing who the competitors are, but you're small enough.
And we don't head straight to them. We just move a little bit left or a little bit right.
And you're not too big so that you're able to pivot. You're able to sit down at the table and go, you know what? This is an opportunity. Let's go after it.
Yes.
And it sounds like you've got a lot of smart people, you know, internally in the company
people,
who are always looking for opportunity. That's what you want in a company.
Yeah, and I'll tell you something about we have there is a place called Brightland. It's a chemical hub. It's basically a hub for companies like us in the Netherlands.
Okay.
That is hosting companies like us. Okay. So companies like us coming to this place and asking to build a pilot there.
Okay.
Basically, the team that scouted us already several years ago is managed by the guy who crossed the line and is working today as our CRO.
No way.
Yeah, his name is Eric, very successful guy. And so, I trust our management. You know, we work with incredible R&D team.
The team is the key.
We work with an incredible CFO. We have a great operational guys. We literally build a company from scratch, from a team of R&D guys at the lab. Bit by bit, we took the operation, later we add up on the engineering, we add up on the marketing, and at some point of time, the company is somewhat ready, if you will, to take to the next step. And I feel that's what investors also see. So you don't see any, you know, incredible spend on A or B or C. You see, you know, conservative approach towards how you spend your money.
It feels like it's being internalized.
Yeah,
at the end of
we
the
have
day,
10 patents already, which is
spectacular.
Things too.
So then I have to address the gorilla in the room about how is globally and governmentally, at least from the United States point of view.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, you would hope by now that there would have been a big support, whether it's subsidies, whether it's support in any way, from governments about sustainability, about recycling.
Sorry about
that.
Again.
I apologize.
We'll have to go back and
I apologize. No, but I just, even from a global point of view, there are other countries that are adopting climatization and sustainability and ESG and nature and all of those, some way more than the United States. And however, you know, is there anything that is there anything that that a government can do to support? Look, at the end of the day, it's amazing that we are not putting. Think about it. We have an environment, we have a world that has limited resources, and it has limited, has a limited lifespan.
Yes.
Right, whether we're cutting down the rainforest, or we're doing or we're polluting our oceans with plastic. At the end of the day, we are not thinking realistically that we may end up crossing that line where we can't come back. Right, whether the oceans are going to be clean, or with how the air is and all that other stuff.
Yeah.
And so the fact is, and it's not political, but at the end of the day, the fact is, if you were to sit down with anybody and go, you know what, look, we breathe our air, we drink our water, we live our lives in this world.
Yeah.
If we are poisoning ourselves to a point where we go beyond our return, isn't that going to impact your life? Anybody's going to say yes.
Absolutely.
But for some bizarre reason, people are thinking so selfishly, whether it is, or so short term, right, that they're not realizing that we can go beyond the point of return here. We can destroy our lands, our waters, our things, right, like that. And so recycling should become it's a mindset. And I know it's a pain in the ass, excuse my language, but at the end of the day, it's what's going to save us. Like if
it's going to help us. It's going to be part of a lot of activity that will help us. And I'll tell you something, recycling and any other work towards the environment basically needs to earn money. Without earning money, if you just ask for taxation.
All right.
Now, recycling is specifically quite hard because it's a negative feedstock.
Right.
You know, you take it from the ground and you have to collect it and you have to drive it. And nobody likes to do that.
Nobody likes to do it. It costs somebody money who's not making any money.
Punch a hole, find gold. Punch a hole, find oil. Why would you go and collect this thing? So I think the awareness around the globe is actually there right now. So this is a good thing.
Okay.
We can't change reality, whether government is deciding A or B. It's not to us, and we stay very, very humble around that. So you would not find us actually expressing anything about what happened in the United States to that end, or what happened in Europe. but we would work in the areas that we see advantage for us.
Good.
Right
That's
now,
smart. Good.
Europe is actually quite good in
More,
this.
it's a more friendly
A
environment.
little bit more
in the
friendly
space?
environment,
Okay.
and
Any
Canada is
particular
coming
country?
in.
Any particular
European in
I mean,
general.
obviously, Netherlands
we're
for
in
sure.
the Netherlands, and Germany is
Right.
good, and we see a lot of stuff goes in the UK. I
Right.
mean, this is a good place to be for us.
Sure.
Canada is building up its
Okay.
ways.
Yeah.
Far East is building up its
Okay.
way. So USA will come into it. Yes, no.
Yeah, they will. They
and
will eventually.
And for us, the message for us, if USA will decide to do something different, maybe, and they'll go with maybe more oil, then we have the other application for the company to
Right.
just help them out with bringing
Right.
oil from Canada in a high quality way,
Right.
basically.
Question,
So we're
yeah.
staying neutral around what government will do, but we're
Which is
very
really
much
smart.
active.
But you're focused
But
on
we're
the
focused
shareholder,
on the shareholders. Our
value.
focus shareholders is
Yeah.
what we want. Technology
of
is
course.
what we're doing. Shareholders is what we want. Day in and day out, we're thinking about shareholders. We're thinking how to avoid dilution. We're thinking how to increase value. We're thinking about increase opportunities so shareholders will look at us at any given time and they know that we're working for them. We need that trust from them. We actually gain quite a good trust from them about it. And that's what we want to see. So everything else is noise for us.
I love that. Look, a value, shareholder value, and opportunity is huge. It sounds. I love the story. It's a great story, and it's a story that really look. It will get its traction at one point, but I love the fact that you're going down that lane because the rest of it's chatter,
It is,
right? And it's
it
and
is.
it's
We
not.
feel
Gonna,
a
it
little bit-
doesn't serve you.
No, it doesn't add to us.
It
We can
doesn't
be
serve you,
activated
and
any
it
way you
surely
want.
won't serve
No.
a shareholder.
No.
They want to know that you're looking for opportunity to make money along the way.
Yeah.
They want to know about that big idea, which is great.
Yeah.
They want to know about your patents and all the
Yeah,
assets that
that's
you
what they're
have
paying
as
us
a
for,
company.
so that's
They
what we
want to
do.
know that you've got a team that's internalized, that you put together
Yeah.
of specialists who
Yeah.
are constantly
Wholeheartedly, I
growing who
believe
work
in that
together.
way. Yes.
That's the bottom line.
Yeah.
What is there any pressure on the big guys, like think about the big petroleum producers and whatnot,
So-
to partner with you on that tech? I mean, obviously that's the licensing
Have
deal.
you ever seen a big organization like Shell or Total press somehow?
No.
Have you ever read
Yeah,
about
yeah,
it?
yeah.
They'll take their time.
Okay.
They know what they're doing. The thing with us, which I think is a great opportunity for us, because of regulation kicks in, in 2025 actually, it's been starting to kick in. At some point of time, they are forced to do something about it. So
Right.
there's a little bit of pressure from the government of the regulation, but big guys are big guys, and it's our job to stand when they tell us with the right technology and tell them, take a look at that.
Right.
And we are working day and night to actually satisfy those needs. We have gained tremendous amount of knowledge from our work. We've been tested and accepted to what is called Shell Game Changer, which is a program for young companies in the energy sector to do things, and we are
Right.
definitely a young company in the energy sectors, and we learned a lot of that, and we just collaborate with Total recently, which is something that is super important for us because the question is they ask us, help us to improve ourselves.
Of course.
So it's a process, it's a steady. And by the way, we're
Well,
not
it's a
even dependent
communication
and not
or-
asking them to invest in the company. We go to you and say, invest in us, and then we go to Shell and says, those are the customers. On one hand, but because of that, it gives us independent, and we're not waiting for them to build our processes. We do our own processes,
That's
and when they'll come,
Yep.
they'll come. And if they don't come, we'll go to somebody else. And if somebody else will not come, we'll build our own. And so that's the message. So we're trying to stay as independent as we can.
Yep.
They are super important customers for us. We have to respect them. It's a
Right.
big, large organization. You don't go just in and barge in and say, look at me.
of course not.
You have to satisfy a lot of needs, and so we're operating on all fronts,
Right.
and that's how we're looking at
The
it.
last question I'll ask is
for
from,
sure.
from a small customer point. Who are those small customers? I mean, so you talked
The
about
organizations, there is it goes from organizations that are the large petrochemical. It could be organizations that are in the retail business. It could be organizations that, for example, install the synthetic turf, and now they have to remove it,
Right.
and now they look for something else to do with
Right.
it, and they need to sell it.
So there are small case
cases,
studies,
small case studies. Recently, we put our eyes on agricultural waste. So
Right.
agricultural waste scattered everywhere. It's actually quite a good waste plastic for us,
Right.
really pure, but a heck of a dirt out of it, and it's everywhere and anywhere. So you have to collect it and build it. It's not a lot around it when you think of it, but in a smallest case scenario, we feel it's a good thing for us. And one of our partners was with a government organization in Canada that is responsible. His mandate, his whole mandate is just to collect this stuff and find solution for it.
Right.
So those are the customers.
Yeah,
There's not a hydrocarbon, there's not a petrochemical organization, small local organization, Canadian organization. You do one, you can do the others.
Yeah.
And that's kind of
it's word of mouth. Once that gets around, I mean, that's going
and
to
you have to grow.
that will grow organically.
Yeah.
Amazing. You know what? I love this story.
Well, thank
Look,
you very much.
for me, apolitically, for me, it's important. I mean, because at the end of the day, I know. Look, I've been, I deal with health issues, and I know that we are. First of all, we are what we eat. We need to. Our environment is super important.
Yes.
At the end of the day, I mean, this world, it's an amazing world. There's a lot of beauty around, but there's a lot. We are heading in a direction that's really problematic.
We should be able to control ourselves. Let's say that
we should be able to control ourselves,
and we have the capabilities. I think it's not just chemical recycling. There's a lot of things out there. There's a lot of smart, good companies out there that are, kind of opening the curve,
the ingenuity is incredible.
And that is so super important. And it just doesn't come from the company, it comes from academia, it comes from education. It's not just us in this, and so some humbleness on this is actually
I get that from
important.
you. I love
not,
that point.
But being part of it and being part of this team, incredible team that is working, over 15 years already. And see the company grows and see the trust that we get from investors and actually standing out and being able to achieve those milestones. Super important.
Milestones are huge.
Very, very satisfying.
Last question, AI.
Yeah.
Okay, obviously it's the flavor of the moment. We know, I mean, it's one of the things I do here. It's one of the things I study. In the beginning I didn't get it. I always looked at it as some.
I don't know.
I know. I didn't get it.
I
didn't get it from a point. I was, I do a lot of things with younger people who are like trying to get into the workforce. They're going, oh my God, is AI going to outsource me? I won't find jobs. I know it can write me a term paper, and that's great during college.
I can tell you, I got 1,000 CVs from AI, and I said, how can I read it? I can't read it.
It's absolutely useless.
Yeah.
Is there any kind of case scenario where AI would be helpful for your business?
Absolutely, yes. In certain specific places, like looking at database with large numbers, for example.
Okay.
Or could be cases where I think you need a little bit more computerized, system to monitor things.
Right.
I'm not sure yet. It's a little bit premature.
Logistics.
Yet to be seen, because we're doing things that are very localized. So just to give you numbers, and this is really actually good place to say, most of the organization that in our space on a commercial scale working on something like 100, 200,000 tons a year.
Right.
So our machine, our commercial machine, we're thinking 25,000 tons a year.
Right.
So it's very localized.
Right.
And so for localized machine, it's hard to see how you integrate, in an AI.
Understood.
It's actually a more simple approach to go and configure a solution near a small sites with feedstock.
Right, of course. It's got to be localized.
Then gather it all together and invest all those resources.
It makes no sense financially to start schlepping the stuff from there to there.
If you can do it differently.
If you can do it locally.
Yeah. So AI has a place in our, I feel, but I'm not quite sure yet where and when.
Yeah. Look, and
definitely don't write CVs with it. It just drives us crazy.
You know what? But the bottom line is, look, this gentleman Dan Odds, who I partner with, and who's the number one. He's the godfather of AI.
Okay.
Has made it clear to me that we are in the midst of a AI revolution, right?
Yes,
okay, and then
we all feel that.
Trillions of dollars.
You Google on stuff, and AI answer to you, and it's just like.
But even in a bigger sense, think about where it's going to be amazing in like the medical field.
Yes.
And in a number of other places where it will change our lives.
Yeah.
But from a robotic point of view, that's part of it. But even just from a bigger point of view, think about it. In healthcare system, it's going to be huge.
Yeah.
The amount of money that is being spent. This is one last thing, which is so curious, is you would have hoped at the end of the amount of money that's being put into the trillions of dollars, CapEx expenditure, in the NVIDIAs and in globally, Oracles and Google, and those guys are all partnering up to grab the GPUs and all that stuff needed, right?
Yeah.
If a tenth of that attention and money would have been spent on the sustainability,
it
would have been a different story.
Definitely be a different story.
You would think that, because if this is not addressed, that's meaningless in
But you know
a
what?
curious way.
Maybe this is the current situation. Maybe we still have to hope. Maybe in the future,
Yeah.
I just as I said, I think there is places like large database, large information base that you need to analyze, and you generate information. For example, that is fabulous place to put AI on top. So I'm not quite sure yet. And so let's not be maybe so negative.
Look,
maybe in the future,
AI
we'll take it out.
may suddenly say to them, you know what? If we don't address the environment, we're going to be in deep trouble, and then they're going to go, aha, good idea.
Well, they need their machine to tell
They
them
need
that it's
that.
smarter than I don't know that.
Alexa, what's
what do you
more
think of
important,
that?
AI or the environment?
Yes.
You know what? This has been really fun. It's such a pleasure to meet you.
It was a
Thank
pleasure
you.
to be
Absolutely.
here. So honored to be here, all around you.
Name of the company?
Aduro Clean Technology.
Aduro
Thank you
Clean
very much,
Technology,
guys, to
and
listen
this
to
is
us.
Avshalom Ofer.
Well, it's Ofer Vicus. Vicus.
Vicus. It's amazing. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Trade like Einstein, Einstein and Ives. This is going to go out everywhere. I love this story. It's a humanist story. It's an environmental story. You know what? It's a story that it's sustainable in every way from a people point of view. And I love the fact that the company, is out there finding value for the shareholder. At the end of the day, that's all this is about, right? At the end of the day, it's not all about smoke and mirrors. It's not all about standing at the mountaintop all by yourself. It's about what value you can bring to the environment for sure, but surely to the shareholder. That's why we're here on the floor of the stock exchange, the greatest financial institution in the world. If that wasn't the case, we wouldn't have 3,300 plus listed companies here that are involved in our lives on a daily basis. Hopefully this company, if you notice it and you look into it, you will see there's value there. Look at the chart. Anybody can see that the chart is absolutely spectacular from a growth, a fundamental, and a foundational point of view. So, an honor to meet you, sir.
Honor to meet you.
Pleasure, man.
Thank you very
so much. Shalom, shalom. I love you, Einstein of Wall Street. That's all I got to say about that.